This is your inner state on the interstate.
Welcome back to your interstate on the interstate. This is episode number 9, which is a continuation of the topic of dreaming. Last episode was about dreaming, the kind that happens when you're sleeping, and this time we're talking about dreams and manifestation. In this episode, we're going to do a manifestation exercise, and we're also going to talk about the concept of the dreamer of the dream. And we're going to go into a little more depth about how to make your dreams come true, and also how sometimes the dreams that we have limit ourselves, which is surprising, but we'll get into that. So let's start off with the dreamer of the dream concept. One of the topics in A Course in Miracles is the dreamer of the dream. And I found this really confusing at first, but one of the things that I got from it is that we need to realize that this is all a dream. We're all in this dream world together. And so if that's the case, then do we need to wake up from it? You know, in the same way that when you're dreaming, sometimes there's something like you're falling or some trigger that just forces you to wake up. And what I learned from the Course and other teachers of that text is that it's not about needing to wake up from the dream, but actually waking up in the dream. So to do whatever you need to do to take consciousness, to wake up and realize that you are the one creating this. You are the creator of this dream. We're not passive participants of the dream. We are active participants. We are creating everything that's happening around us all the time. One of the themes of this whole podcast series is to remember that we're creating our experiences, and that we don't need ever to be a victim of anything that's happening in the world, of anybody that's doing anything to you, or any situation of a country or politics or your family. We can be empowered to create what we want to create. And I'm encouraging everybody to empower themselves and find whatever they need to do to feel empowered and to wake up and remember that you're creating your own experience. So if we realize that we're dreaming and we are fully lucid in this current reality, in this 3D reality, then we should be able to do a lot more than we seem to be capable of doing. And one of the ways that I have started to tune into that is by taking different courses and doing things that teach me to expand my capabilities and my capacities. And I'm going to share about one example. I took a course which helped me to understand more about remote viewing and also telekinesis. And those are things that when I was much younger, I just would have thought would have been completely impossible or only something that you see in movies. But to me, having the experience of actually learning how to do it and doing it and getting the confirmation that it does work, it's given me a sense of confidence in that, yes, that we are dreaming this and that our minds are much more powerful than what we are often taught. And so to me, this is why we don't need to learn all of these sort of supernatural powers and abilities, but it certainly helps to remember that, oh yeah, this is a dream. Part of the process of waking up is actually kind of being playful about it and realizing that, okay, if this is all a dream, what do I really want? What do I want to create? If we have the capability of creating our own experience, what do I really want? And so many of us don't really think about what we really want. We think about what we are taught to want or what other people might have, but really taking the time and asking ourselves, what do we want? I think that is a very important step in waking up in this dream. So if you're not getting the experience that you want out of this dream, this life, it's probably because you still believe that you're not creating your own experience. And how do you change that? Well, there are actually a lot of different ways, but one way is belief work. You look at the beliefs, your limiting beliefs that you're holding, and change it. And again, there are many ways to do this kind of belief work, but that is not for this episode at this time. But let's talk about more how you can create more of the experience that you want. I found this journal from about 2007 where I just wrote a list of things I would love to do. And to me, it included things from all over the world, and it included things that just in an ideal scenario, this is what I would love to happen. And some of the things that were on my list included learn flamenco in Spain, be a dolphin swimming guide, climb Kilimanjaro, and I think there were a few more that I actually can't remember at this time. A few years after that, in around 2010, I found that same journal again, that same entry, and I realized that I had done more than half of them. I had climbed Kilimanjaro in 2009. I got to learn flamenco in Spain, which was completely unexpected. And when I think about it, I was a dolphin swimming guide, not really intentionally, but I just happened to be living on an island in Japan where there was dolphin swimming, and people would come visit me on the island to go dolphin swimming. And so it was informal, but it did happen. We set our intentions, we put it out there, and then you just wait and see what comes. I was not at all attached to the outcome of those things. I just thought, hey, it would be really fun if I could have these things. And there's something about that looseness and the playfulness of it that actually allows it to happen. It's like you set your intention without attachment, without needing it, without trying to desire it, without needing to control it. And then you just sit back and watch and it happens. And it is so magical. And I realized that part of it is in just kind of trusting in the universe, kind of trusting in life, trusting in the process, and that it's all going to happen, but you don't need to control it. You don't need to be attached to it. So do you have a list, a bucket list, or things that you would love to do? Or do you have like one big far-reaching goal that you are striving towards or working towards or hoping that will happen? So I learned from one of my teachers that she always has a really long list of things that she wants to manifest. You can put as many things on your list as you want, because part of it is just in the process of dreaming or in imagining. It can be as simple as learning a few chords on guitar, or learning a language, or even learning a few phrases in a language. Part of the fun in dreaming, in coming up with a more extensive, more thorough manifesting list is, to me, it gets me in touch with the expansiveness of life, getting into that flow of the creative potential of who we really are. Because if we really are creating this and we are creators, then we can get closer and closer to our creative potential by allowing the creativity to flow through us. Part of that comes from dreaming, from daydreaming and imagining, thinking about all the things that you would love to do. I've read before that when people travel or they go on vacation somewhere, so much more of the pleasure and the enjoyment of the actual travel is in the buildup and the waiting and the anticipation of the actual travel. And so it's not necessarily just about waiting for that end goal to enjoy it, but say in the process of you're going to go to some dream destination, the whole while from the time that you book the trip, book the flights, start packing, imagine the scenes, look up all the different destinations you're going to go to. There's so much enjoyment in just the process of that. That is kind of the point of having a nice long list of manifesting, is then you can enjoy the process before having all of those things. And the cool thing is that in the process of enjoying it and imagining it, whether that's for just a moment that you imagine it or whether it's something that you come back to regularly, it's going to actually make it easier for that actual experience to come into your life. So I was saying before that sometimes the dreams we have hold us back. What on earth do I mean about that? I'm going to explain. So one of the realizations that I had about dreaming is that if we don't finish or complete certain goals in our minds, and we're kind of like waiting and always kind of leaving that as, oh, that's something I would love to do, but that's never going to happen, then in a way that limits us. I call those placeholder dreams. And they just hold a space in your mind thinking that it's helping you to dream bigger, but actually sometimes it holds us back from dreaming even larger from there. Because if we have it in our heads that, oh, this is something that's not really that possible, then we kind of get stuck there. And sometimes the key to finishing something or reaching a goal or dream is actually by dreaming even bigger or further. And sometimes you can't even possibly imagine what is available to us if we have a limited perception of what we think that our possibilities are. So as an example, if anybody runs. So let's say you're doing a 1 mile run. You know that you're just doing 1 mile. It feels different than if you were to do, say, a half marathon. That 1 mile suddenly feels very small. I'm going to share what made me realize that I had a placeholder dream. For a long time, it was learn how to fly a helicopter. That was on my list of way out there, pretty much impossible goal. And some months ago, I actually went and did my first helicopter lesson. It was just one lesson, and let me tell you, it is not easy. It is not like flying a plane. It is not flying a drone. It is not easy. But something about just taking one step towards that goal shifted it from being in that impossible to very much possible. It made me realize that I needed to revise my list. Like, if that flying a helicopter thing was the furthest reaching goal that I had, I needed to have an even further dream so that the helicopter one seemed smaller. I needed something even more out there to be on my list. The next thing on my list was to go to the moon. And yeah, there is that quote of shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but firstly, that quote we have heard, or that I personally remember from a poster on the wall of a classroom when I was younger, it's kind of backwards. The moon is actually a lot closer to us than any other star, including our sun. And so we really shouldn't be aiming for the moon, but we should actually be aiming for the stars, or even something beyond the stars and not the moon. And it also reminds me of Elon Musk. He's aiming not for a star, but for a planet called Mars. And as a result, he figures, well, why not stop by the moon? See, I like how he thinks. And knowing that actually, Mars is just the first step in a further reaching goal of interspace travel. By aiming for what on Earth we consider far reaching, it makes the problems on Earth seem so much more manageable and so much more doable. He has been leading so much change in solving so many long-standing problems that other people haven't done. And I think part of that is because he has his goal set really far. And part of him, too, is that he doesn't just think of him as an individual. He thinks of, say, all of humanity. He thinks beyond just himself. He thinks for other people and what is a contribution that he can make, not just for him and not just in his lifetime, but even larger. I think it's a really great metaphor for all of us to think, okay, if that is your furthest reaching goal, what's an even bigger one? It's also great to consider goals that are beyond yourself, as in how can you be of service, or how can you do something that's beneficial not just to yourself, but others around you or humanity. I think it's much more powerful to manifest in that way. And underneath all of that, when talking about Elon Musk and him aiming for Mars, and when you think about your furthest reaching goal, to me, it's not just about having a far-reaching goal just for the point of proving that you can do it. An important aspect is to understand what is the why underneath your dream. I learned from a book I read by Dean Graziosi, and he said to do the 7 whys. And that is, when there's something that you want to do, whether that be a goal or dream, you ask, why? Why do I want that? And then you have your answer there. And then you ask again, why? And you do that 7 times. The further and further you go into the why, the closer you get to an emotional connection, to the actual emotion of what is your why underneath it all. And connecting to your why, more so than the how, makes it more and more possible because we're connecting to the feeling and not just the thought of it. And something that I heard Joe Dispenza say is that thoughts have an electrical charge, but emotion has a magnetic charge. And if you want something to happen, if you think about manifesting, you're creating a magnet where if you start to create or hold that emotion, it becomes like a magnet for that which you are attracting to actually come into your life. You know, that also leads to the law of attraction. And Abraham Hicks, if you don't know Abraham Hicks, look it up on YouTube. It's basically all about the law of attraction and how to get rid of the resistance in a way, but not by trying to shoo it away, but actually by redirecting your thoughts, by focusing your thoughts on feeling good, on feeling positive, and in doing so, you create a magnet. Another thing in considering what your dreams are, think about if you had endless resources, what would you do? It's interesting that often people say that money is what holds them back, but actually it's not. It's often that they really don't know what they would do after they have all the things they think that they would want. You know, what's next? So another way you might ask this to yourself is, in your current list of goals and dreams, if all of them would come true, then what would you do? And then what would be next? And sometimes that is what holds people back from actually achieving their goals or their dreams, is they don't know what they would do next, which is why I'm encouraging you to think of what is the deeper goal. If you connect with that why underneath, then what you really want might take a different shape. I found that also completing dreams, having smaller things on your list, smaller, more achievable things, whether that's going to a lake nearby or cooking a particular dish that you've always wanted to try. You know, it doesn't have to be these grand dreams. They can be these little things. And that in completing each little one or big one, actually makes more room for more because it tells your subconscious mind that, oh yes, this is possible. Also in the process, it can help to clarify about what you really want. Someone might think, I would love to just live in a cabin in the woods by myself. Or if I had it my way, I would live on an island in the middle of nowhere. And then I would just meditate all the time. And guess what? I did that. I actually thought that for myself. I thought that I would love to do that. Like that would be a sort of idyllic environment, is to be completely secluded from others, live on an island. I would meditate all the time. And I did that in Japan. And I hated it. I mean, that's not true. I didn't hate it. There were many things that I loved about the experience, but the ideal image of what I had in my head of what that experience would be was far different from reality. And so in our own dreams and the things that we think that we want, sometimes we don't realize that that's not what we want until we actually do it. So I really encourage you to go for it, complete those dreams that you've been holding on to, because then it gets you closer and closer to what your true purpose is, to what you're really here for. So let's talk a little bit about our beliefs. Basically, life gives us exactly what we believe that we deserve. And when we can accept that, it's like taking 100% responsibility for our lives. We are responsible for how amazing or horrible our life is. We are never the victim. It doesn't mean that we don't experience challenges, because those challenges and those seeming negative things are what helps us to grow. I like to see it kind of like a video game. Like if you ever played some game like Super Mario Brothers, where each level gets successively more difficult and more challenging. And sometimes you have to repeat certain levels, but you have to just keep repeating it until you master it, until you've learned all of the things that you need to learn in order to navigate through it. And once you have those tools under your belt, then you kind of advance to the next stage, meaning the challenges are going to be a little more difficult. You don't need to feel bad if you have been experiencing the same pattern or problem over and over again. You just need to maybe take a step back and ask, what is it that I need to learn from this? What is it that I'm learning in the process of learning? What am I getting out of this? And the sooner that you can open up to accepting that there's something you need to learn, the easier it actually is. Then you can actually move on from that. The challenges aren't necessarily a bad thing if you can approach it in the same way that you do like you would a video game, where it could just be a fun problem to solve. Then it actually can help you, and it actually can be fun. One of the keys to manifesting is getting in touch with the feeling. As we were talking about with the 7 whys and getting to that magnetic charge of the emotion, sometimes people have it backwards, thinking that, oh, once I have this thing, whatever that is, car, house, relationship, whatever, then you'll feel happy. But it actually works in the opposite. First, you have to feel good that you already have that thing, and then life responds and will give you that thing. Let's just do an exercise. We're going to do an exercise about the things, the goals that you have, the dreams. Okay, so let's just close our eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And we're going to see where your dream sits in your experience. Think of first one dream that you would love to happen. Imagine it and ask yourself, if you could feel where this is, where would it be? And just feel, does that experience feel like it is? Is it in your heart? Is it in your gut? Is it in your head? Is it not in you, but maybe in front of you? Is it above you? And just kind of identify, where does it feel? And now think of something that you are completely sure that you're going to do, like say, if you're going to eat dinner later. So imagine yourself doing that scenario, and ask yourself, where do you feel that? Is that in your heart? Is it in your head? Is it in your gut? Is it in front of you? Is it above you? Is it behind you? And just notice it. And now think of another one of your dreams that you would love to do. Imagine that scenario. And just feel where it is. And now think of one more dream. Imagine it. Imagine that you have it. Where do you feel it? Good. So now you can open your eyes. Basically, the closer that it is embodied as a feeling in you, the more likely you believe it's going to happen. And then if you felt something that was not embodied in you, but outside of you or above you, it means that it might be somewhere kind of distant, a far-reaching possibility. We're going to do a brief meditation now. We're going to bring all of those goals, those dreams, wherever they were spatially, we're going to bring them so that they're integrated into you. So close your eyes again, imagining that first goal, and imagine that wherever it is, it just moves into your system towards your solar plexus. Any blocks or limitations that are preventing you from feeling that can be removed and replaced with the knowing that it's possible, that you deserve it, that you have it now. And just breathe into that. Allow it to feel integrated as part of you, not as something outside of you, not as something far away from you, but that you have it now. And you can do the same thing for the second goal or dream. Wherever that is, imagine that it comes into your space. Anything that's blocking it can leave your system. Anything that's ready can go. And replaced with the feeling and the accepting that you have it now. And you have trust knowing that it's coming when it needs to. And then the third dream or goal, wherever that is, bring it into your solar plexus area, releasing any resistance and accepting that you have it now, and letting the feeling amplify of the feeling of having all of those things. Feel that you have it now. So that is all for the meditation. So just to keep in mind, our subconscious mind doesn't really know the difference between past, future, and present. So all of those dreams and goals, it's helpful to say that you have it and to feel that you have it. Visualize it, imagine it, play with it. Overall, the process of manifesting, it's not about getting the tangible things. It's about enjoying the process of opening up to knowing our true capacity, our creative potential gets us closer and closer to spirit or God. Anything is possible. Let's have fun. All right. Thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Inner State on the Interstate. For more information, visit yourinnerstate.love. Wind on your face now, standing in place now, it's all at your pace now.